My name is Bakari Jarasuba. I am the vulnerable creative, technologist, and believer. I believe that our most authentic self come to life when we embrace vulnerability and where we share our own stories. And so for the past 8, 9 years, I've tried to do just that, embrace vulnerability and share my own story. And the way that I've been doing that is through bsuba.com, a vulnerable storytelling platform. Well, that's what it is today. But back when I first started, it was subakari.com. And honestly, it was just a space. It was a time in my life where I was going through a bunch. There was a lot happening in my life. I had a bunch of emotions and was going through a lot, and I really just didn't have an outlet of like where I could share these stories because you can't hold everything in, right? So I needed an outlet. So I started writing. I started like writing a bunch. It was just for myself, I like opened this Google Doc, and I just started putting a bunch of stuff down. Yeah, just things that I was going through, family, school, life, work, everything. But these stories were for myself. These stories were for myself because, they're vulnerable stories. And one day, a friend of mine, came over and they saw one of these stories. And, when they read my story, they felt moved and they felt like it helped them in like whatever they were trying to do. And so they convinced me to like share this story like more broadly. At first I was like, I don't know, man, I'm kind of giving a weight about myself here, you know what I mean? Like somebody come pick this up and like read it, they might start thinking twice about me, you know what I mean? But I kind of like thought about it, and finally I was like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna start sharing this. I'm gonna start a blog site, my own personal blog site. I'm gonna call it subakari.com, which is my Instagram handle, right? And so I did just that. Like, I launched the site, and then I started to share my stories there. So, like, obviously, I didn't really share every story. Like, vulnerability is hard, for anybody that tries to practice vulnerability, that it's like super, super hard. So I shared a bunch of the stories that I was comfortable sharing, and then slowly like more people started to like read my stories, and I would get like all these feedback, like, yo, like I read your story, really like resonated with me, like this is something I've been going through myself. And it made me realize, I'm like, yo, like I don't care what color you are, black, blue, yellow. Like, yo, we all going through something out here. And a lot of the times we're going through the same things, yo. Nobody talks about it. We kind of all just go through our stuff on our own. And so when people started coming to me like, yo, like, it's just super relatable and like all that jazz, I created a section on my personal blog site, right, where like other people could submit their stories too. And yo, we got a influx, like bunch of people started like submitting stuff. It was overwhelming, to be honest. What started out as my own personal blog site had like become this thing that I could personally not even try to like contain anymore. So I kind of try to give it like a little bit of TLC. I changed the handle, so it's like less about me now, and it was about a community, right? And that's what Suba became. Like Suba, the idea behind Suba is to embrace vulnerability. It's to embrace vulnerability, and it's to share openly, and like understand that you gain from that, right? And you sharing, you gain from it, and there's a potential of someone else on the other end of that to also gain. So yeah, so bsuba.com was born. That's how bsuba.com came about. It's a platform where I try to make space for more stories, in sharing my own story. In sharing my own story, a lot more people came to the site. They shared their stories, which motivated other people to share their story. To be honest, that's what brings me here today. And on this YouTube channel. My goal is that we build a community here where together we can make space for more stories. You know what I mean? In me sharing my story, I hope that you all watching can share your own story. And then so on and so forth. And then we can kind of like build a community where like we're growing personally, we're growing professionally, and then we're investing together in the future of Africa. Anything I said sounds good to you, hit the subscribe button. And then I'm gonna put bsuba.com in the description. Thank you guys for being here. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Peace. That's kind of, peace. That's trash. I gotta come up, y'all gotta help me come up with an exit. I mean, the 2 is a little weird, maybe 1. I mean, maybe, all right, y'all.